Hello there, this is Dr. Meka, and you're welcome once again to the whole story. Our first episode was with Theophilus Sunday, and I want to say thank you to everyone who watched those episodes, who subscribed to our channel. God bless you. Thank you so much for keeping us here. Today we have an excellent gentleman. He's a gentleman who is lovely. That's just the only way I can say it. He's a musician. He's not just a musician, he's also a music minister, and you all will know him. I've got with me BEZ Idakula. You're welcome, Bez.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to sit with us today. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. I remember, I think it was in 2011 or 2012. Then, I can't remember which year.
Yeah.
But there was this song that came on air, stupid song. And a few things about it intrigued me. One was it just sounded different. Two was, I think it was produced by Cobhams Asukwo.
Yes.
Now, I went to King's College, Lagos. Cobhams was a year my senior in school.
Interesting, yeah.
So, because he was a year my senior, everything that had to do with Cobhams, anyway it was mentioned, You
pick it up.
So, and of course, Cobhams has this very unique way of doing his thing. So I noticed Cobhams was producing, and then you and your friend praise, it just, the music video was different. It was quite nostalgic because, of course, it reminded us of, things.
The songs from way back.
Yeah. And that was my first time of really knowing about you. And I'll be honest with you, today I watched that song. To be fair.
It's a catchy song.
I really do love it. So what was it about the song? How did the song come about?
Very interesting story. I met Cobhams in, I think it was around 2008.
Yeah.
And we just sort of built a great relationship from there. I knew that I wanted to do music, so I went in search of him. But I would say time and chance just made everything happen. And so by the time Cobhams and I had met, we built a great relationship, and then we started creating music. And we were creating music not thinking, how far would this music go? But like, you have sounds and we just feel like there's something here. So why don't we create? So we kept on creating. I remember we had finished creating the album. We were ready to put it out. And then an artist, came into the studio and said, Cobhams, please, I want you to create a stupid song for me because these Nigerian people, they like nice songs, now all these stupid songs, And then the way Cobhams thinks, he sort of thinks out of the box sometimes. And he was just like, he's hearing a sound in his mind and he just feels like this would really work. So he was trying to say that, man, what if we did it this way and everything? And the guy was like, no, this is all this you both, I beg, just stupid song. So he's like, Bez, why don't we create this sound? Because it sounds like something you can jump on and it sounds like something we can build. So we got into the studio and then we just started sharing ideas. He put down the beat. I mean, this was like one of the fastest songs we created because the idea came really quickly. So immediately we did that. He's like, there's somebody that needs to get on this track to complete it. And then we thought praise because he had, a similar sound, fantastic vocals, and a great guy. So we reached out to him. We connected, and the next day he came. In fact, he was on his way somewhere. So he came, did his part, we learned it, and then he went out. And so we released the song. And that song happened to be like, it broke the record for the first song by an African artist to be played on, I think they had one show called BET 106 and Park.
106 and Park, yeah. I remember,
yeah. So the video was premiered there, and it just sort of gave us that oomph for the rest of the album. Because the album had been released and the video came out 2012, and that sort of just really opened doors for a lot of the work we did.
Yeah. To be fair, and I think, well, at least for me, and I know for many,
Yeah.
That song was what announced it.
Yeah.
And speaking about BET, because 106 and Park at the time, before it was nixed in 2014 on BET, it was the highest rated show on BET.
Yeah.
So for your song to be premiered,
it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Yeah,
very big deal. So we'll come back to music. So tell us about you. Who is the man Bez Idakula?
Well, the man Bez Idakula. Recently, I would like to say I'm a man of many things. But I'll say my foundation is really from how I grew up. I grew up in a Christian family, very musical family. My dad was a politician, my mom a caterer, but that was not how they started off. My dad was in the seminary. That's how he started off.
Interesting. Yeah.
So he went to the seminary in Kagoro, in Kaduna. And after the seminary, he taught for a while, and then he would carry his guitar and just go around
Oh,
playing. And a lot of the songs he wrote was in Hausa, if not all.
yeah.
So eventually, I think he found that popularity, but he was a man of the people. And so he looked at his environment and he felt like, I can even create bigger impact, So he went into the government and into politics. And he was able to rise in his career. But I mean, we grew up in that kind of a family, knowing who we were, having that Christian foundation. And also, like, my dad and my mom would record themselves, those old tapes where you play, where you hit play and record at the same time.
Yeah.
So they'll record themselves. So it was interesting growing up around that and hearing even my parents from a cassette tape. I feel like that was my foundation. And for my entire family, we would go sing in church together. He taught me how to play the guitar. And that really started framing my identity. Later on in life, in university, I went to Covenant University. I would hear over and over again, what is your purpose? If you do not know where you're going, everywhere will look like where you're going. So I started seeking, what is my purpose? And I found in that time of seeking that my purpose was to add value to the world through music. That's the way it came. And so I would really say that I've been built maybe for this time, but I think music is my tool. And with my background, growing up in Jos and just being really grounded in my Christian faith and growing up in a great family, I would say, I've learned humility. I've learned integrity. I've learned honor. And so for now, I'm a musician, still a musician, but I believe like my impact will be through my music.
Your music, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned Jos. So are you from Plateau State, Nigeria then?
We used to be before it became Nasarawa. It was carved into two.
Okay.
So I'm from Nasarawa State.
Yeah.
So if you've heard of the Karo people or the Gwari or Bagi people, that's
Bagi,
I'm Bagi.
Yeah.
And I like to say we're the true inhabitants of Abuja.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm from Nasarawa State. Grew up in Jos, and Jos is home. And if you look back, if you look at the people that came out from Jos, there's a lot of musical talents coming out from Jos.
Yeah,
I feel like there's something about the environment.
About the environment, yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
That we drink there.
Okay, good. You mentioned Covenant. I read something online. So at Covenant, they used to have like open mic sessions.
Okay.
I don't know if that be correct.
There
used to be things like that.
Well,
and was that helpful?
There's a lot of services.
Yeah.
And obviously, there are a lot of people who do music, so you find that in those services, we used to call them student night, I think.
Okay.
And then you have those student nights and people will come and, showcase or perform. So those were platforms and opportunities that were given to a lot of students to, build their craft and showcase. But then also, if you're in the choir, you're playing lots of services, right? So like you're building your skill as well.
Yeah.
But you find that you also find people who are very quiet and not on those platforms, but were taking note of everything that was happening. And, behind the scenes, they were also building themselves up. So we had all those spaces of expression, the spaces for mission. It did play a big part in where if you research and you look at anybody that comes out from Covenant University, there's always something, because the vision that God gave him was to build leaders, so everybody comes out there having this, audacity of faith, just I can build, I was made for more, I'm made to create impact, So I think that was something that we really gained from the mentorship of Bishop David.
Bishop,
Boyd.
yeah. And massive shout out to Bishop David Idakula for
Massive.
pioneering such a great institution.
Yeah.
Okay, now, your music, like when Stupid Song was part of the album Super Son.
Yeah.
And then you had a few albums. I think you had Baggy Child.
Baggy Child, The Light.
Yes, and then you had quite a number of your songs. Themes that ran across, obviously, apart from Stupid Song, that was more, just reminding us of childhood. Love was one of the things that ran
inspirational.
Inspirational, motivational, love, love themes, really.
Yeah.
And you describe that as alternate soul.
Yeah.
I know of soul, I know of alternate soul. So how would you describe the music back then?
I would say I called it alternative soul because, it just gave me that, what would I say, the cheat mode to make my music eclectic, right? Soul was my primary way of, presenting the music. But, once in a while, I put in, like an Afro beat in there, or I put in a bit of rock, or, like just really play with sounds, or even hip hop. If you listen to Super Son, it's jazzy, and at the same time, there's a bit of hip hop. Some songs like More You, it's strictly guitar and just live violins, so like I was very experimental with the music, so I was like, it's alternative
so, okay.
in the way it sounds, but in real, execution, it's just as the wind blows, or just looking at different ways to make the music interesting, professional and exciting.
Okay. So in the last few years, I've noticed a pivot as well to Christian contemporary music. Right.
Yeah.
What happened?
Man. Well, I think, I like to blame my wife. I'm like, this is all my wife's fault. But like I said, I've always had that Christian background. I've always, I've always interacted with prayer. I've always interacted with studying the Word of God, and I've had a strong faith. But I believe like when I got married, whoever is not married, when you get married, it's like a brand new life, right? So you've started a corporation, and you need to know how to handle that corporation. But when I got married, we lost our first daughter.
Oh, okay.
And after that happened, it felt, really painful. At a point, I was asking, did God, let me down? Why didn't God show me ahead of time? And even when we got the news that she was not developing well, we were praying and we're just believing. We reached out to different pastors and we prayed, but nothing happened. So she passed away, immediately a day after she was born. And for us, it was a very painful period, and it was a season of, are we going to go forward in our faith and dig deeper, or are we just going to, just be nominal Christians, So, and I think I shared it in one of the sessions where I was ministering. I said, there was a minister that came and shared with us, a chaplain, and said, listen, sometimes it takes a storm to know the other side of Jesus, because the disciples needed to know, who is this man that even the waves and the waters, the sea, the weather would obey him. But they only had that revelation when they were in a storm. And he said, listen, in this life, you always be in a war, and you always have different battles. You may lose a battle, but you will win the war because the war has already been won. So that sort of primed us with even the way we would take our journey to the next level. And my wife had done a discipleship course even before giving birth. And, so I remember the leaders coming to see us and say, Bez, why don't you do this discipleship course? I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I always joke. I was like, but I'm a celeb. What am I doing? And then later on, I decided to do the discipleship course. It was called Master Life. It was 6 months, weekly interaction with people and daily interaction with the Word of God and with prayer. And I just found that after 6 months, I had grown in a certain way. My spiritual senses were a bit heightened. Yes, I wasn't like deep into prayer, but I just gave it a chance. And immediately I gave it a chance. It felt like God was like, hey, oh yeah, come through.
Draw you in,
And so that sort of opened the door. And when the door was open, I started discovering other things. I discovered a group of people that were doing a course for hearing God's voice. All right, let's try it. We did it. Hearing God's voice, it threw us deeper into prayer. We're hearing the voice of God, but we're not sure. Is this my thought? Is this is it God speaking? You're journaling, you're confessing, you're praying in the spirit. But like these things just feel like assignments, It's just not legalistic, but like to help you build a routine. Eventually, I kept on going with this, and I started feeling like the Lord was saying, move to the United Kingdom. That was in 2018. But again, I couldn't go based on, the Lord is saying move. Meanwhile, is it the Lord saying? So we're like, let's go, let's test this. We were pregnant with my second son at the time, so we gave birth to him in London, but like, it was just not a nice time. It was very difficult. I wasn't working, I was here for 3 months. So like, you know what? Let's just go back home. This thing God said, God, let's just go back home. The good thing is that it wasn't anybody telling me. It was what I was getting in my place of prayer, So what would happen was that in 2020, there was this pandemic, if you remember.
Yeah, COVID, yeah.
And what happened in that season was that I wasn't working. Nobody was out for gigs or events. So I got with this group again, who are doing like a prophetic course, So, all right, I'm free. I'm not doing anything. But it involved a lot of prayer. It involved a lot of spending time with the Word. It involved a lot of you're encouraging people based on what you feel God is saying. So it put me in that space where I wasn't doing anything, but I was spending my time with God. And the more I did that, the more I knew that I wanted a life where, not that I wanted a life. I'll put it this way, I started losing taste for, different things that I thought mattered, I started losing taste. All that mattered to me was I wanted to hear the voice of God clearly. I wanted to be sure that I was hearing the voice of God. And I wanted to be in a position to take care of my family. Those are two things that mattered to me. And I remember sharing with a mentor that, I right now, I just want to know God. I feel like even in my conversation with people, God heard that prayer. So I got deep into it. In 2021, I had this dream. And this dream was my dad, who is late now. He died when I was young, in just 2. And there was a ream of paper that was given to me, a big ream of paper, and it was his songs that were on it. So I'm like, look at this great resource, So I was flipping through it, but then it stopped just at the top. I'm just like, I thought this was my dad's songs. And I just got in my spirit in the dream that it was like being passed on to me and that I was meant to complete it. So I woke up, I'm like, this thing, I don't know, because what I understand is invoices. I would invoice my corporate clients, they'll pay me. But if I'm meant to start creating songs, my dad did only gospel songs and Christian songs in Hausa. How am I going to do it? How am I going to survive? What kind of platforms will I play in? Do I want to play in church? I'm not sure I want to play in church. So all these questions, but at that time, my finances tanked because of COVID. Not a lot was happening. But it almost became one of our most abundant times.
Seasons,
my wife started getting like 3 streams of income. People were just very generous with us, and I just felt God telling me that, it is not really by your striving.
An effort,
but you're able to see that I'm providing for you even when you're not earning. So why don't you listen to what I'm saying?
Trust me,
And I think I started trying to give it a chance. And then I had this dream, again, this vision. And it was clear I was in a plane. And this plane was stuck in sand in Bar Beach in Lagos, And then I heard a voice saying, okay, so what does this mean? It means that you're in the wrong geographical location. You're meant to be on a tarmac so that you can fly out. So push out of this sand through prayer. And I just saw myself giving V-neck sweaters, blue, red. I knew it was the UK again, So, but this time was clearer because 2018, I was like, But this time I knew God was saying move to the
Move
UK.
to the UK.
Now the problem is we had no plans to move to the UK. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any, like we're freelancers, music, she's into projects, like what are we going to do? How are we going to work? Like, all those questions, that you ask, where are we going to stay? But we decided to give it a chance, and we took that step of faith.
Yes.
Every resource we needed, every money we needed, everything came. And I was able to get my global talent, and, we came to the UK, and it just started the journey. And the journey, I knew that God wanted me to throw myself into just worship, really. So I was spending time in prayer. I was spending time in the Word. I was listening to messages. In fact, I just saw one of my YouTube Wrapped, and I saw that I listened to 120 and messages. Wow. And it was just a place of equipping, resourcing, like preparation and learning. And I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I knew that God wanted me in that space.
In that space.
So I gave myself to it, and I opened myself to just worshiping. My church then in Cambridge now invited me to join the worship team. So I joined the worship team, and then I started working for the church in the worship team. Yeah. So I did that for 2 years, and then got very comfortable and got into that space of leading worship. And I knew, okay, this is where God is pointing. But it took me leaving Nigeria
for that to happen,
to get into that place. Because I don't know if it would have really happened in Nigeria. There was too much at stake, too much of my reputation.
Such a celebrity.
That would have been in the way, and God was like, this guy needs to be yanked out. He needs to be shown small pepper. and then, just get into the place where I would align.
No, and it's interesting because I also find that, now, I pastor a church.
Yeah.
While I was in Nigeria, I'm almost certain I wouldn't want to pastor, right?
Yeah.
But it took me coming to the UK for one thing to lead to another.
Yeah.
And I ended up pastoring the church. So that's quite interesting. But I want to ask.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're in Nigeria. I don't think, I know those watching, everyone knows you, but I don't think people really appreciate how far you had gone. Because I know that, like I said, we talked about BET's 106 and Park. You were the first African, not just Nigerian, to have your music video premiered. There's a newspaper in the UK, the Boston Globe.
Yeah, in the US.
In the US, sorry, I mean to say.
Yeah.
The Boston Globe is the 10th largest newspaper in the US by print, right?
Yeah.
The Boston Globe I can't remember what year.
2011.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
They rated your song 3rd out of 10 world music albums.
Yeah.
You've played at iTunes stores in New York, in California.
Yeah.
You've gone around Kenya, I think it was in 2012 or so.
Yeah.
Kenya, Ethiopia, US, London. You're a big shot in that space. And then now God is saying, go to the UK, leave all that, and going to sing for me, worship. That transition, I'm interested in knowing because it's when we read the Bible, take up your cross and follow me. We just read it, quote it, we throw it at each other, and we think it's easier read than experienced.
It is.
So my question with them is, how was the experience? Leaving all that, who you were, you're performing, doing gigs for the big corporations. How were you able to manage it? And now coming to the UK, doing worship.
Thank you. I mean, a lot of people talk about that wilderness season, right? And it feels like, the wilderness season, nobody wants to go through the wilderness season, But the truth is, for the life of God, for the life of God that is in your spirit to sort of find expression, that flesh needs to sort of die, except a seed, falls into the
fall to the
ground and
ground.
dies.
Die.
The plant can't come out from the seed unless it's broken. And I feel like that's what happened. There was so much, like I said, so much flesh in there, so much identity. The city that we lived in, Lagos. There's a culture of just showiness. So if you're an artist, you need to have this kind of car, you need to have this kind of appearance, and before you know it, that becomes your truth instead of the real truth that God is trying to help you see. So all those things had to die. I remember when we moved to the UK, I had some gigs that were coming up in Nigeria. Some brands were reaching out. All right, we're going to give you 3 gigs, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. And we were just putting those things together. And I felt in the place of prayer that God just said, you're not going. and note, again, it's not that we're working. We were in the UK for 7-8 months without work. Again, because we're asking, what are we here for? And because God had been supplying us, we're like, okay, so it's going to be a miraculous life. But at a point, everything stopped. So we're like, what is going to happen from here? At the point where we're staying, we had to leave because it wasn't sustainable for us to be there. And I know that we had to move in with my sister who moved into our city. And she had a 2-bedroom flat. My family of 5 had to move into that 2-bedroom. But she had a one bedroom for us to spare. So we were in that one bedroom. For 2 months, because God had given my wife a dream that we were going to be there for 2 months. So we were there for 2 months. What happened in the 2 months, I can't tell you, but I was so uncomfortable. I had to be going out. She stayed near like the meadows, the greens. So I'll go out in the morning, go out at night, go out early in the morning, like the 12 a.m.s. I would go out into meadows, and I would just be praying, God, what I say? Why are we here?
Why is my...
And in that season, something happened. I was having a conversation with one of the vicars from my church, and he's like, man, your story is wild. There's a conference happening in Watford. I feel like you need to go to that conference. So I struggled with it. I was like, okay, let me go. I paid, I think it was like 70, 80 pounds, every money I needed. So I went to that conference, and as I stepped in, during the afternoon session, there was worship happening, the violins, guitars, and it was just so blissful. And I heard the Lord saying, lay your hands on the ground and receive the grace of worship from this church. So I went to the back of the building and laid my hands on the ground, and I was just praying, God, I receive the grace of worship from this church. And then I heard on the stage, there's somebody here who has a calling for worship and evangelism. But the person is confused. They don't know which one to do first. I'm like, I know, like God has been speaking to me about worship.
That's like a word of knowledge from person ministry.
But evangelism, I'm not sure about that. But they kept on calling. So I said, it might be me. So let me just go up. So as I was going up, the man said, oh, it's you. He said, because as soon as you walked in, God started speaking to me about you. And this is like a predominantly white congregation. It's in Watford, with Cambridge. I didn't know anybody. And he just started speaking over me, speaking that God was going to use me in music, in evangelism. And it felt like that was the first time that I knew. But I felt that it took those 2 months of being in a very uncomfortable space, in a 1-bedroom with 5 people, and seeking the face of God in desperation, for God to sort of open that channel for me to hear a direct word of knowledge from somebody who didn't know me.
Who didn't know you.
From Adam, And I think that sort of helped me. But everything that followed before and after then, it was just a season of breaking. Because even my work in church was as an assistant in the worship team. Like I'm coming from, and here I am, an assistant, rolling up cables, setting up, leading worship, leading kids, leading the women's ministry, leading youth, leading students. but it was a place of constant pruning and breaking and training, because nobody can be used of God if you're still high up there. True. Everything needs to come down. True. At a point, God said, go out to the streets and just worship. And I would do that.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video like that once where you were saying that you were quite reluctant because you didn't want it to look like you were soliciting for
exactly
funds,
like, because my guitar was open, and guess what? The first day I went out there was somebody from Nigeria that recognized me. So there was just no escape.
Yeah.
Really. But I feel like everything needed to break, just for the life of God to find expression.
Yeah.
The wilderness season, was, wilderness season, when God took the children of Israel through the wilderness, he said he took them through the wilderness because they would not be able to face war. That's it. So let me take them through this place, as a protection. And when God took them through the wilderness, the pillar of fire was with them and the cloud was there to cover them. And that was God's presence with them and that was what we saw. It was such a season of just God's mercy and faithfulness. Yeah. We could see it in every way. And when the 2 months had reached on the dot, we found an accommodation that worked for us. It was way cheaper. In fact, the landlord at the point even reduced the rent.
In this country?
Yes, in this country. It was somebody from church, but it was a place that worked for us. The kids' school was 5 minutes away. There was an African store just beside us. Everything worked. We started building community, and it felt like we had entered into a place of just rest, like sustenance, but you're still, that you're still on the journey. And I guess what that also did for me was to see God as provider. Nothing else. So my confidence and faith in God who provide is from experience and not from me reading it.
Not just reading,
God showed me that he's a provider. And so if I ask my wife, what's my number one motto in life, she'll say, God has never failed me. Because that is my number one motto right now. Yeah. I've seen it.
Indeed, your story is wild. because the breaking, God will not share his glory with anyone.
No.
And once God begins to notice that there's something in your life, in my life, in any of his children's lives, that will contend with his glory, he will absolutely get it out of the way. Because I was reading scripture. The Bible talks about the 24 elders.
Yeah.
And the Bible says they cast their crowns before him. The crown is the glory. Yeah. It's like it's the apex of the man.
Yeah.
But they put their crown at his feet. The feet is the lowest part of the man. It's where your feet makes contact with the floor.
Yeah.
So taking what is your apex and putting at his feet means the best of you. A mentor of mine wrote a song. One of the lines says, "The best of me is vanity within." In other words, all your achievements, everything you ever are and will be, is only good enough for his feet.
Yeah.
And I think your story is so encouraging because, people out there too, asking questions, God, why is my life like this? Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
But from what you're saying, it appears God is making an attempt to rid his children of those things that will take the glory.
Exactly.
Because you can't go to where God wants you to go to or to your next level carrying that baggage.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
You've spoken about your wife many times. At least 2 or 3 times now,
She got me into trouble, all this trouble.
First of all, she got you into and then she had this dream how you stayed in that place for 2 months and it was 2 months on the dot. So I get to say she's a very spiritual woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just tell me about your wife.
Yeah.
Tell her.
Well,
how did you meet?
Funny enough, I knew her as like a group of friends. We were in the same circle.
Yeah.
So she went to this secondary school, Olashere, and from my secondary school, Loyola Jesuit, would sort of interact and everything. But at the time we met, I was in an event, you know, and I was playing these two songs that I'd released these two songs, Zuchi Adaya and Stop Pretending. Yeah. So I was doing a club tour around Lagos, and in one of those events she came, you know, and she was just like, this guy is fantastic, you know, and like I've known about her. So
no, she was tripping for you now.
So she said something interesting that day. She was like, you know, you're going to marry me.
Are you for real?
You know, and we always joke about it because we're always like, man, she's just full of energy, and she was just being silly. You know, we didn't know she was prophesying, but she was being silly, you know. But at the time, one of my very good friends, you know, was having a party in her house, you know, so she invited all her friends, and my wife was there too, you know. So we started talking from there, and, you know, it just sort of, you know, it got big. But I remember she was about to leave for her master's, and we had to make that decision. Listen, are we starting now? But we ended up dating 1 year. You know, she was in the UK, I was in Nigeria, and you know, our whole dating period was about 3 years. But I mean, I like to give her the credit because she would go in search of God. You know, she would go in search of God, and at the time I used to see it like, you're going every program, you're going, you know, and everything. So I'll take her, I'll drop her, and go back home. But she was going in search of God. So like when she does things, you know, like that discipleship course, you know, I would pay attention, and she'd be giving me gist about it. This one, you know. Then in the course they would say disciple somebody, so she will come and try and disciple me. You know. And then she was she feels like she needs to go here, and then I'll take her there. Yeah. And then when I take her there, they're asking, where's your husband? You know, so before you know it, I sort of started leaning towards like just her search for God. And, you know, like right now she does a lot of writing on Instagram and socials. Yeah. And she also, she's quite prophetic, and we both dream, you know, so we compare notes. And also, like last year, we were on a Made to Shine. Made to Shine is the platform that we have. So we're on a tour, and in the tour, she'll talk about her life. She's written this book about her journey from when she was Muslim to when she came to know the Lord, and how that has made her know her true self as royalty. You know, so it feels like we were a match made in heaven, and God knew that I needed somebody to sort of yank me, you know, but in a gentle way, in a very gentle and subtle way, you know. But yeah, you know, we're here together. You know, I like to give her a lot of props because it takes a lot of grace to to go through this journey. You know that meme where they say what I ordered and what I got.
What you got, yeah.
Very different. Yeah. What she ordered and what she's getting, you know, is very different. But she's followed through with grace. She's been in a position where she's been the main supporter of the family, and she's done that with grace. You know, and it felt like, and I know that God planted us specially in this, you know, arrangement just. To get us into a place where one would chase 1,000, but two would chase
10,000. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's quite interesting because, you know, there are seasons, there are different seasons of life.
Yeah.
You know, there are times when in a married couple's life, you know, things might not be working out the way you know the man wanted to work out, and then, you know, his wife has to hold brief, or help to support the family while he, you know, tries to get himself back on his feet. Yeah, and at that season, because it's a stressful season.
Yeah, it is very sensitive.
Yes, you know, we have many lovely women out there, but some struggle to manage that, and some families generally struggle with that. Yeah, you know, and usually at times like that, pressure points like that, you know, you start to notice cracks. But thank God for her. I was going to ask you, so if I'm not mistaken, I think she's the daughter of a former governor in Nigeria.
The Olubadan.
Yes. Is it His Royal Highness?
Yes, His Royal
Rashid
Highness.
Ladoja.
Yeah.
How was it? Because this is in Nigerian parlance, it's a big man's daughter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
How did you ask her out? Was it was it easy? You know?
I think she's very down to earth.
Yes.
And again, it felt like something that was already ordained.
Yeah.
You know, it was a connection that we both shared, and we were in the same circle of friends.
Space, you said, yeah.
So I think it happened very easily. It happened very easily
Yeah.
because we were all interconnected in some way. I remember one of my friends was dating her brother, and then, you
Okay,
know,
so
so
it was
it was a close knit circle. You know, so and it felt like you know, like in secondary school, for example, when you're seen with somebody over and over again, and everybody starts saying, you guys look cute together, you know. So
together.
everybody's corroborating this whole story, you know, and even makes it, even if you don't want anything to happen. So that was how it all happened.
Okay,
you know.
interesting.
And
Yeah.
it started with great friendship, and then
Yeah. And she's quite, she's quite visible on social media. My wife follows her on social media, the main ladies, and you know, wholesome content. You know, and shout out to her. Yeah.
Shout out to Tito.
One question: you talked about the Made to Shine tour. Tell us more about it.
Yeah.
What's it about here?
So we believe we got this mandate from God to be leaders for our generation, and specifically for the music space. So if you remember, you know, my search with God started with you meant to add value to the world through music.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the UK, and then this man is prophesying to me, God is going to use you in the music space. And then God gives us this, when I say us, my wife and I, God gives us this scripture from Matthew 5:14-16. You're the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill can never be hidden. You know. So let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And we believe that God has called us into a space where we would steward the gifts of others, you know, especially music artists. Because I believe that in this day, we love the sound of revival. And there's a lot to unpack, you know, with revival.
Yeah.
But God is going to be coming in His majesty and establishing His kingdom. He's going to be doing it in ways that He hasn't done it before. In the revivals of time past, He used men and women who would, you know, sort of lead congregations. There'll be outpouring of the Holy Spirit. But I believe that the way it's going to happen in this season will be through people in music people in media. And for my own part, as a commissioner in the music space, I feel like we're meant to sort of spread this message clearly, so musicians know that they carry a gift that God wants to use for His glory. Before you begin to use your gift to serve God, as you can see through my life, there is a process, you know. So our work in the past year has been to tour around the United Kingdom. We did a 10-city tour.
I saw that.
And after that, we started connecting with people who wanted to go deeper in their journey with God. And when we connected with them, we would do a discipleship course for 12 weeks and build a community. But we found out that towards the end of the year that God was saying He wants these discipleship courses to be for the music people. So that we can raise new missionaries in the music space. Yes. And then they would use their gifts. And, you know, it's all about supporting them, possibly even funding them, you know, and just making sure that their gifts thrive for God's kingdom and for His glory. So that's what Made to Shine is all about. And, you know, we've been running events in London as well, monthly events. We've closed for the year. But we believe like next year, like I shared, I believe next year is for taking territory. So we're going to be doing more with the tour. And we're going to be really focusing on bringing in music artists and supporting the work that they're doing. So far, they're mission-minded, and so far, they want to grow in their walk with God. I believe like that's the mandate that's been given to us.
Excellent. And like I said to you before we came on set, we're happy to have made in the tour. We're happy to have it here. I remember when I saw the flyer for the tour, the last tour. It was 10 cities, and I quickly went through the cities.
Yeah.
Was he coming to Middlesbrough? When I didn't see Middlesbrough, I was quite disappointed. I was quite disappointed, to be fair, you know. But I think I told my wife, I'm like, oh my God, Bez is not coming out. But we finally connected.
That's God will have
so I'm saying to you openly, please, we're more than happy to. Because, you know, things like that, you know, when you see people, you know, and in our first episode when I interviewed Minister Theophilus, he has this inventary.
Yeah.
And I was saying to him that, you know, meetings like that are not very common.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
We, respectfully speaking, there's a lot of jamboree out there. There's a lot of noise making in the name of music. People are doing all sorts of stuff. You know, people are making noise but no spirit. You know, so when you see meetings, events that really carry the spirit, communicate value, you know, you're excited about them.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really want to appreciate you for what you're doing, because again, it's not easy. It costs money.
Yeah.
It takes your time. Resources. All sorts.
Yeah.
You know, and we're more than happy to have you here in Teesside anytime.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Now, what do we expect from you? I know you've mentioned, you know, for your tour, you've talked about next year. Yeah. But what else do we expect from your music? Do we expect an album?
Yeah.
Are you looking at releasing more songs? You know, tell us more.
So I'll be releasing more songs. And I've been grappling with this. I get sometimes, you know, in your journey with God, you're trying to find out, is it God, is it not God? But the more you walk with him, you know when he's leading you and how he's leading you. I came across the story of Bezalel in the Bible in Exodus 32-33. And he was one who carried the Spirit of God, the Spirit of wisdom. And God said, I've put in him the Spirit of wisdom to create all kinds of works. But something very interesting happened. God had promised them, the children of Israel, that he was going to come and dwell with the people. And so he gave Moses a certain pattern on how he wanted to dwell. And that pattern was meant to be manifested as the Ark of the Tabernacle, right? So Moses had the vision, had the pattern from God, and then he was meant to present this pattern to Bezalel to execute. So I feel that what God is also saying is that there's a way that I want my sound to be, the sound that will herald my revival or sound that will herald my coming. And this sound needs to be along a specific kind of pattern. So I've been spending time with God to actually feel and to see and to discern what is this pattern and how would you like me to create music. And so I have been led to do a lot of acoustic. That's why you see me coming out, you know, to play with acoustic. A lot of acoustic-driven sounds. And I feel like that's where God is leading me. Now, I feel like I want to be mainstream, you know, because, this work of God, it requires haste. We need to go, blow, make it big, you know. But God is telling me I want it to be in this pattern, you know, create acoustic sounds, create music, create it in this way. So next year I'm going to be releasing a lot of songs.
Oh, great.
Driven with the acoustic sound, because funny enough, that's how my dad did it. And that's how I also started. So I'll be releasing music, I'll be releasing an album. And I'm putting it out there alongside with everybody. Let's see how the thing goes. You know, it'll be very interesting.
I'm sure it'll go
because
well,
for my past 5 years, I've just seen the hand of God in everything. So I believe that this will be a new channel, you know, for His glory to sort of find expression.
And when are we looking at? First quarter, second quarter?
So first quarter songs will start coming out.
Okay.
You know, and then towards the summer we should have an album.
We'll be expectant. I will be. I will be. Yeah. These are your glasses. I've been looking at it everywhere.
Oh my goodness!
It's the same one, the same color.
Yeah. In fact, today I was looking at it in the mirror. I was like, is it not time to change this thing back to black?
So, what's the story behind?
The color. I've always. If you look at my pictures from the past, I've always just liked, you know, like quirky looking glasses, because I feel like if I'm going to wear it anyways, if I've been condemned to wear this thing, I might as well just make it look cool. So I've always had like quirky looking glasses. I feel like it's also part of my identity or
Yeah.
my branding in some
Yeah.
way, So, funny enough, I walked into a shop in Abuja to buy some glasses, and they recognized me, so they gifted me this one.
Oh, really?
So when they gifted it to me, I just put my lenses in them.
Your lenses in them, yeah. Oh, lovely, great. Okay. It's quite interesting.
So there's no deep story.
There's no deep story, okay. I thought there would be some
No.
funny story somewhere
Just-
behind and all of that. No, nothing, yeah. Okay, we're about to round up, but we'd like to know, what do you do for leisure? Because, I find that a lot of, again, artists, in the Christian space, we kind of think that they pray all the time. Like you mentioned, you've been praying a lot. They pray all the time. They study all the time. They don't do anything. They don't even eat.
Oh my gosh.
So, what's your regular day like? Do you pray from like 12 to 12, then sing from 12 to 8? What do you do? What do you do for leisure? How's your day like?
If this was live, my wife would just be laughing as this question is up. Man. So I spend time praying. Yeah. I spend time studying as well, and listening to lots of messages. I feel like my life has really changed, and also it feels like I'm sort of late to the party. So because I'm late to the party, I mean I've been flexing, So now it's time to sort of redeem the time to catch up. But I don't feel it that way. I feel like I'm meant to be dwelling. How would I explain it? There's where my joy and strength comes from, and that's where I go to derive my joy and strength. Yes, I have kids, so I play with them, I play chess with them, I watch some shows with them. But in terms of my time and how I spend it, in study. I read books, in prayer, creating music, learning new music software. I was switching software to, from Logic to Ableton. So I had to, be doing a lot of learning. But I find that there's a lot more investing my time than just chilling.
Chilling, yeah.
And I also find times of even leisure, just like almost, man, I can't wait for this to finish so that I go back to, because again, like I feel like I'm in a place where I'm redeeming time, so there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
I have different groups of people that I pray with at different times, a men's group, young people's group, so I'm running discipleship or do this, so I'm having a good time. It's not boring, but I do have times where I go for birthdays or, go out and everything, and, hang out with the kids or with family, we do all of that. But the bulk of my time is spent in study, spent in prayer. Yeah.
Interesting. It's the same pattern because I find that people who really have enduring things, going for them, pray.
Yeah.
They spend time praying.
Absolutely.
They spend time studying.
Absolutely.
People who communicate value, who dispense value to their generation, especially from a Christian standpoint.
Yeah.
Have a strong prayer backbone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Have a strong prayer backbone. Have
yeah.
a strong word backbone. And it's something that cannot be overemphasized. So thank you so much, Bez. I really do appreciate this time.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it's a big deal because you're a celebrity, sitting down with me to have this chat. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we look forward to the Made to Shine talk coming over to
Absolutely. It will be a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really enjoyed my time with Bez. I'm sure you did as well. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, okay? And stay in touch, stay in tune. We have so many episodes coming up with great people you'd want to listen to. God bless you. I'll see you some other time. Thank you.